Hey there, it's Amy Lews from the KFBK Morning News with Brandon Haefele from Catalyst Mortgage. And today we're talking about appraisal-free mortgages. And you think, wait a minute, I pay for my appraisals. Well, there are appraisal-free mortgages, are there not?
Absolutely. Going back several years, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have offered what we call appraisal waivers, property inspection waivers. In our industry, we call them PIWs. And
That's what I call them.
Exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
So recently, Fannie and Freddie are starting to expand their guidelines to where maybe on a purchase we'll get a PIW, property inspection waiver. If you're putting 20% down, or on a refinance, they might expand it to a higher loan to value. So we're definitely seeing that change, which will of course help consumers do what? Close a mortgage at a faster pace. Do
you have to put more down to get a property or an appraisal free?
If you're doing a purchase, yes. They've really said, okay, it's going to be a 20% ratio, 20% down payment, so 80% loan to value, where then you might get it. Now, when I say might, I want to make sure we understand that there's a lot of factors that go into any of these types of waivers. It's debt to income ratio, the risk of the overall file. It could be if it's a single family residence or an owner-occupied versus an investment home. It could also be if it's a certain area, geographically, maybe it's a rural property, up toward Chico, let's say. Those different things will affect if, their automated system will allow for an appraisal waiver or not.
Okay. Something you just said brought something to mind for me. So we here in Sacramento have had our floods.
Absolutely.
And so when you think about a property that has gone through a flood, can a property like that still get a free appraisal?
Well, appraisal waiver?
Yeah, appraisal waiver.
The appraisal waiver will happen depending on the system, but if there's, let's say, a disaster declaration in the area, no, the system will not approve it. It'll be ineligible. But, let's say it was 10, 15 years ago that an area flooded, or, let's say back even in, 89, in Sacramento.
Yes, yeah.
Compared to then, there will not be an issue if the system finds all the different categories to be correct. One thing, and I really go back to it, it comes into the whole financial picture as well. It's really important to understand that it's property, it's income, debt to income ratio driven. It computes everything, and based off of the overall risk plus the data that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac has on that home, then it will give the waiver. And one thing to keep in mind, why this is really starting to come out now, is over the past several years, as lenders, we've had to start uploading our appraisals when they're completed on a property to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's, it's like a sharing system. And by doing that, they're gathering data on home values. Even loans that were closed last month by every mortgage company out there, these that are sold to Fannie and Freddie, the data is uploaded. So what does that do? It gives them a baseline of what geographic areas are either increasing or decreasing in value, and based off, of course, that data, computed with an individual's data, we'll start seeing either more waivers or they won't do a waiver in a specific area based off of that. A lot of information.
No, but you know what? It makes me think about appraisals themselves. So we've sold and bought 6 homes in our marriage, my husband and I. You've sold and bought a home. I know many of my friends have as well. If you can, you buy a home. If you can do it a second time, that's incredible. But getting your home appraised, it's a nerve-wracking thing.
Yeah.
And so how can you make sure that you get the appraise that you believe your house deserves?
Well, one thing I will say is to also bring up is appraisals are now done through appraisal management companies. Lenders and loan officers, ever since the crash, do not get to order an appraisal directly with an appraiser to avoid, hey, I need an extra $50,000, can you bump it up? That handshake, kind of side deals to overinflate a market. So we go through appraisal management companies, and then an appraiser is, picked independently. But as a consumer, when you're going to be contacted by that appraiser to, have an appointment scheduled, ask the questions. Where do you live? Are you, because if, let's say they live in, say Chico, and they're coming to Fair Oaks, and Fair Oaks is such an eclectic neighborhood, do they really know about Fair Oaks? Or if they're going to go to Davis and certain parts of Davis, and so you really want to make sure they live in your area, they know your area. And also, if you've done upgrades, repairs, I always tell people, make a list. You want to have everything that you've done to the property since you've purchased it, or even since the last appraisal you had, and give all of that data to the appraiser.
Is it important to make your property look as pleasing as possible? Not doing anything, illegal, but making your property look as good as it can when the appraiser comes?
I would definitely say make your bed, I would definitely say make sure
Okay.
they can see every aspect of the house.
Yeah.
You know, it's important to know that during an appraisal they have to see your water heater, make sure it's double strapped. You know, carbon monoxide detectors, smoke detectors. They're really
Yeah.
going to check for those things. But at the same time, yes. I mean, if your backyard's overgrown and you know weeds are so high, but then behind it you have some really nice pool that no one would have seen before, so,
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Make sure everything's groomed so they really take in the full picture of your property to give it the highest and best value for that area.
So one thing you said about having a free appraisal, or what is it called, a
Property inspection waiver.
property inspection waiver, does that mean that appraisers are soon going to be out of jobs?
No,
Okay.
and that's the thing. That's a great. I would say emphatically no. Really, because data will only go so far. I mean, really, if you have a custom home, custom upgrades, and everything, it's like, well, no, the system might approve this, but
Yeah.
my home is worth a lot more. And it's important to say, it's important to know that if you're working with a lender and they get a property inspection waiver on a refinance, and let's say they peg your loan to value at 75% loan to value, but you're like, well, no, my value is not that. It's probably at least 200,000 higher.
Right.
And the loan officer's telling you, oh, no, just go ahead with it. We'll get it closed. It saves you money. It doesn't probably save you money because the 75% loan to value, and if you, let's say, you get the higher value on a real appraisal, let's say it puts you now at 50%, there's a price improvement
Yeah.
from that difference. When you go below 70 or below 60, you get price improvements. So that will, if a loan officer's saying, no, it'll save you money, enough to pay the
It's
$400,
going to catch up to you.
you'll probably end up spending tens of thousands more in interest on the rate you would save by getting that appraisal, to show the higher value. So it's good if you really do agree with it. It's good if you're doing a purchase, but overall, it's one of those things that you really want to look at.
When you get an appraisal and you see the results and you're not happy with the results, can you say I want another one?
You can absolutely do an appraisal rebuttal. That's something that your lender will do, but understand that you're essentially rebutting it with the appraiser himself and the AMC, the appraisal management company.
Yeah.
In my opinion, 9 times out of 10, it won't make a difference, but it's always worth a shot. I
Yeah.
always tell you it's worth a shot. One thing to know on appraisals, for VA, veteran, for veterans, that appraisal, whatever appraisal is done on a property, it's with it for a minimum of 6 months. No matter what. There's no redoing it or getting a second appraisal. One other thing with FHA, same thing, 6 months, but conventional, another appraisal can be ordered. So if you don't like this appraisal and the lender or their underwriter agrees, well, hey, there might be an error, they can order a second appraisal on a conventional loan.
Wow.
A lot of information.
No, but it's really good information. And again, if you are watching this now and you're thinking, I got to back this up, back it up as often as you want and watch this video. Take notes so that when you go to talk about getting an appraisal or getting a home loan or getting a refinance, you are that much more educated. It is so important to be an educated consumer. So for more information, you can call Brandon at 287-7777. You can go online to catalystmortgage.com. You can go to Catalyst Mortgage Facebook page, which is where we are. You can also listen to the Catalyst Report on Monday mornings on KFBK from 7 to 8. Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you.